Even before the Deshaun Watson saga began to unfold, turmoil within the organization had already set in. An unpopular trade involving DeAndre Hopkins last offseason was followed by an 0-4 start, leading to the firing of head coach Bill O'Brien. And unfortunately for Houston Texan fans, as disastrous as the 2020 season was, 2021 is only going to be worse. The Texans finished last season 4-12. At home, they were 2-6. On the road, they were 2-6. And within the division, they were 2-4. Their offense ranked 13th in the NFL, averaging 375.3 yards per game, while the defense was 30th, giving up 416.8. Now, with the Deshaun Watson situation still playing out, the offense won't look nearly as explosive as it has in the past. But after the preseason, the defense looks well coached under new defensive coordinator Lovie Smith. But it just seems like the Texans can't catch a break. Heading into the 2021 NFL draft, they didn't have a first-round pick for the second consecutive year, having traded them away to Miami for left tackle Laramie Tunsil. And on top of that, they didn't have a second-round pick either. In the third round, they drafted Davis Mills, a quarterback out of Stanford. Later on in the third round, they drafted Nico Collins, a wide receiver from Michigan. And in the fifth round, they drafted Brevin Jordan, a tight end out of Miami. All right, boys, let's get into this. So the Texans have a new head coach heading into the season. And at this point, I just feel bad for David Culley. My man had no idea what he was signing up for. Basically, the Texans planned to trade star quarterback Deshaun Watson before the draft, but then the QB was subject of more than 20 civil suits accusing him of sexual misconduct and assault, prompting the NFL to launch an investigation. Houston then had to use their first draft choice on quarterback Davis Mills to go with veterans Tyrod Taylor and Ryan Finley, basically signaling their plan to move on from Watson at some point. They beefed up the run game, adding the likes of Mark Ingram and Philip Lindsay, and also signed former All-Pro cornerback Desmond King, and just recently actually traded for Chicago Bear wide receiver Anthony Miller and signed Pro Bowl kickoff punt returner Andre Roberts. On the flip side, however, all-time franchise great J.J. Watt went to Arizona in hopes of winning a Super Bowl. Will Fuller went to the Dolphins, and Randall Cobb returned home for one final dance with Aaron Rodgers. As for the strength of schedule, it's ranked tied for 15th. Some of their notable games are at Cleveland week 2, at Buffalo week 4, at Arizona week 7. They play the Rams at home week 8, and then they play Seattle week 14. Their non-divisional schedule is brutal. The only reason their strength of schedule ranks 15th is because they play the 1-15 Jaguars twice. As for some key players, we must address the elephant in the room. The Deshaun Watson situation is messy, horrible, practically unprecedented, and has no logical end in sight. And as the case was in the spring, the situation is still up in the air. The NFL hasn't put him on the commissioner's exempt list or even talked to him about the multiple allegations of sexual misconduct. Trade talks, specifically with the Miami Dolphins, are heating up, but there has been no deal. So we're forced to look at life in Houston without Watson. Part of the reason they signed Tyrod Taylor was the familiarity with head coach David Culley, who was Taylor's quarterback coach at Buffalo in 2017 when the Bills made the playoffs. Even though Houston will likely lean more on the running game, Taylor must stay healthy. The last two times he earned starting jobs with the Browns in 2018 and the Chargers in 2020, he suffered early season injuries. The running game should be improved with two new backs to compete for a playing time with David Johnson, last season's leading rusher. Mark Ingram and Philip Lindsay both surpassed 1,000 yards in 2019, and like Johnson, they're solid receivers who will enhance the passing game. Brandon Cooks is the Texans' best wide receiver, coming off an 1,100-plus yard season, but he could see a ton of double coverage with Will Fuller and Randall Cobb gone. There's not a whole lot that I like on defense, but Zach Cunningham is the best player on that side of the ball. Cunningham led the team in tackles last season, and his speed and presence against the run is highly underrated. making him extremely valuable in new defensive coordinator Lovie Smith's scheme. Finally, for my projections, I'm gonna be honest, it is only going to get worse before it gets better, assuming Deshaun Watson doesn't suit up this season. The Texans are in a full rebuild with the chance of a 70 to 75% roster turnover come next season. What I'm trying to say is I'm going 1-16 with the #1 overall pick come 2022. It's going to get really, really ugly in H-Town.